अस्सलाम वालेकुम नाज़रीन, DTVNN के साथ मैं हूं किरण खान। आए नजर डालते हैं आज की खुसूसी रिपोर्ट की जानिब। एथनिक मीडिया सर्विसेज और फेडरल ट्रेड कमीशन ने जुम्मा 15 दिसंबर को ऑटो रिटेल स्कीम्स का मुकाबला करने के बारे में एक कौमी ब्रीफिंग का इनेकाद किया। प्रोग्रामों के मुकर्रीन मालिनी मिथल, जैमी ड्री ब्रूक्स, सानिया शाह रेसिपी हैं। आइए मालूमाती वीडियो देखते हैं। कार खरीदते वक्त सारिफ को किन बातों का ख्याल रखना चाहिए और सारिफीन के तहफ़्फ़ुज़ के लिए फेडरल ट्रेड कमीशन के क्या उसूल हैं।
The FTC is the leading federal agency charged with protecting the public from deceptive or unfair business practices and unfair methods of competition. Today, our topic is all about buying cars. And a new rule that we believe is going to protect all of us as we go through this process from scams. The rule is called the Combating Auto Retail Scams, spelled CARS for short, rule. Combating Auto Retail Scams rule, which requires transparency in the vehicle shopping process. It will also generate major savings for consumers, possibly as much as $3.4 billion a year, are three speakers from the FTC. Malini Mittal, Associate Director, Division of Financial Practices with the FTC. Jamie D. Brooks, Attorney, Division of Financial Practices, also FTC. And Sonia Sharasby, Attorney, Division of Financial Practices, the Federal Trade Commission.
Thank you so much for taking the time to hear what we have to say today. Like Sandy said, I'm Malini Mittal, and I'm with the Federal Trade Commission, but I do have to make a quick disclaimer. The remarks we're making today are our own. We are staff, and we are not speaking on behalf of the Commission or any individual commissioner. All right, with that, let's get started, and let's dive right in. So what did the FTC announce this week? Slide 2, please. The FTC announced the CARS rule, Combating Auto Retail Scams. The CARS rule focuses on two very harmful practices that we've seen consumers experience. First, bait and switch tactics. That's where dealers advertise a certain term, like a low price, to get you to come to the lot. But once you spend the time driving out there and you spend hours on the lot, you learn that the car is way more expensive than what was advertised. That's called a bait and switch scam. The second scam that the rule aims at combating is junk fees. So as Sandy was saying before the call officially started, auto contracts are long, they're complicated, it's a long transaction. Unfortunately, it can be easy to hide charges in those contracts for things that the dealer and the consumer have never spoken about and the consumer doesn't really want.
Thanks, Sandy, and thanks, Malini. So as Malini mentioned, the rule focuses on combating two harmful practices: bait and switch tactics and junk fees. Why did the FTC focus on these practices? Let's start with bait and switch. Bait and switch advertising is where dealers advertise one price to get consumers in the door, but then charge consumers much more after they've invested their time traveling to the dealership and spent hours on the lot. The FTC has brought many actions against auto dealers engaged in deceptive advertising, including bait and switch. For instance, the FTC has charged dealers with making misrepresentations about the price of a vehicle, the monthly payment, and about an affiliation with government programs. So let's look at a few examples. Turning to the next slide. Here we have casino auto sales, and you can see the dealer advertised vehicles with a specific low price. For example, $18,000. And that was to get buyers in the door. But at the very bottom of the ad, the dealer buried some fine print. And if you pull that out, you can see that it says the buyer actually has to pay an additional $5,000 down payment on top of the advertised price. And you can see that in our slide. That's deceptive because when a customer sees an advertisement that prominently displays a price for a specific vehicle, they can reasonably expect to pay that price regardless of the fine print. And as you can see, the advertisements here, I don't know if you can see because they're a little small, but they're in Spanish, specifically targeting Spanish-speaking consumers.
Thank you, Sandy, and thanks, Jamie. So why did we focus on junk fees? Well, we were concerned that people were paying for junk fees, and these include additional items that provide no benefit or items that consumers don't know about or don't want. Dan, could you change the slide, please? So first, for a little bit of background, what do we mean when we say additional items? We mean add-ons. And these add-ons can include things like extended warranties, guaranteed automobile or asset protection, also called gap agreements, VIN etching, exterior or interior coatings that are supposed to protect the vehicle, and many more. Slide, please. So individual add-ons can cost consumers thousands of dollars and can significantly increase the overall cost to the consumer in the transaction. In the past 2 years alone, dealers have substantially increased prices for these add-ons, even though such products and services largely are not constrained by supply. A significant consumer protection concern is that consumers are paying for add-on without knowing about them or expressly agreeing to them. The long paperwork-heavy vehicle shopping process can make it difficult for consumers to spot these add-on charges, particularly when advertised prices or payment terms don't mention add-ons at all. So for example, a recent FTC law enforcement action, we had consumers visiting a dealership that were required to complete a stack of paperwork that ran more than 60 pages long and required more than a dozen signatures. This type of conduct can target immigrants, communities of color, and service members.
I think this rule is really going to help consumers, and it's going to help honest dealers by leveling the playing field so they don't have to compete with bogus prices.
Great. Sonia Sharasby.
Thanks, Sandy. I'll echo what my colleague said and also really stress that I think that these 4 pillars of this provision will really change the marketplace for the better for consumers. It's particularly the offering price provision. We're really hoping that this will make a difference when it comes to car shopping.
And repeat that again. The offering price has to be transparent. This is part of the push for transparency. Could you just rephrase it in very common use language?
We hope the offering price will make the car shopping experience better and more transparent for consumers.
Our conference is now adjourned, and with best wishes to all for the holidays. Thank you.
DTVNN से अब तक के लिए इतना ही। मजीद खबरों से बाखबर रहने के लिए देखते रहिए DTVNN।